When you think of society and what binds it together, the first thoughts that pop into your head are probably culture, religion, language, or something similar. However, a more potent force works to keep societies chugging along, and that's a social contract. Essentially, a social contract encompasses all the rules, written and unwritten, that govern a society. This contract ensures that individuals, corporations, and governments work in alignment with each other so that everyone gets what they need and no one side has too much power. Unfortunately, these social contracts don't last forever. We are currently in what may be a second Engels Pause. The first occurred during the early years of industrialization, when exploitation was rampant. This was because everyone was still getting used to going from an agricultural society where people could mostly rely on themselves to an industrial one where we always needed each other to meet our needs. Now, with companies even more robust than some countries in existence, we need a new social contract to reset the balance. It's hard to see or admit that our way of life is not working, but it's time to face the truth. Corporations have too much power and will only do whatever they want to put money in their shareholders' pockets without concern for anyone else. This is exemplified by how a bottle of life-saving insulin cost $275 in 2019 despite its patent being sold for $3. Stakeholder capitalism should replace the current system of shareholder capitalism. When other parties are considered, such as consumers and even the environment, businesses won't be just about the money but the common good. But what about governments? Shouldn't they be the ones making sure companies have oversight? With pooled resources and executive powers, governments should be helping make certain everyday people get what they need. And yet, when disaster strikes, some governments fail to aid their people. Meanwhile, minimum wages stay stagnant. In the US, one way to help governments regain power is to get rid of corporate lobbying. How rich is rich? We all want to be wealthy enough not to worry about our livelihoods, but unbelievably, it is now possible to have too much money. With more billionaires now than before the pandemic started, the cracks of society are beginning to show even more clearly. CEOs can make 278 times more money than their workers, ramping up inequality to ridiculous levels. Unions that should be fighting for workers' rights don't manage much, barely capable of keeping the status quo. By looking at how the Nordic countries handle their economic sectors, we can give more power back to those who produce work. We can ensure that everyone gets a fair slice of the pie with better conditions and better pay. In theory, governments collect taxes from their citizens, and the corporations register to better the whole nation by maintaining public infrastructure and policies. However, corporations and the rich have found a way to game this system, which isn't helped by the various tax exemptions allowing some parties to pay nothing at all. There are even tax havens. With some intelligent obfuscation, some companies regularly cheat governments billions in taxes, putting the stress onto people who can't afford it. The way taxes work needs to be reformed. There is a better way to handle the taxation of companies that are big enough to be global and take advantage of different tax breaks. This is called unitary taxation with formulary apportionment. The corporation is viewed as a single entity, and its profits are taxed and shared between countries hosting it. This way, the corporation can reduce dirty dealings and the benefits of taxes for the people boosted. The advent of the internet has changed lives, creating avenues of opportunity that were unimaginable just decades ago. However, it also brings with it some downsides. Unlike corporations, governments don't adopt new technology quickly. Governments and tech companies need to work together so that governmental functions can keep up with the times and make sure that national growth is not compromised. This is especially crucial since China is so technologically savvy. Although they're more equipped with tech, their oppressive power will mean a dire future if they gain too much influence. We already know that the way the world currently works isn't sustainable. Each country has its troubles to deal with when it comes to its social contracts. It might be easier for the entire world to function in the same way, but that's impossible. Thus, each country has to choose its path. Does it want an open or closed social contract? China, for example, has a closed social contract, with citizens having little power. The result is a stable society with little personal freedom. This doesn't mean that open social arrangements aren't able to achieve the same prosperity. Nordic countries take excellent care of their people, ensuring that citizens get the healthcare and economic stability they need. They accomplish this by encouraging investment, free speech, and innovation from everyone. What kind of social contract will your country form, and how will it affect your livelihood?